you, man?
Hey, how are you?
Right. I'm good. How's your
Happy
weekend?
birthday.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, 28.
Yeah.
I think I remember 28.
Oh, how was it for you to be 28?
How long ago did you say?
Yeah, you can say that.
That was 31 years ago.
Well, that's
Yeah. Yeah, so 28 was in the middle of the 80s for me, and I got to say the 80s were a bit hazy. So
how were they different? Like, how would you say your 28 is different from my 28? I guess.
well, I don't know. It's my 28. Let me give it from a Christian perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I've mentioned before, I grew up in a Christian household.
Yeah.
I've always believed that Jesus is God, that He died for my sins, but I haven't always behaved.
Okay.
So 28 was in the not behave.
Not behave.
in the not behave time, yeah.
Yeah. And what made you behave?
Probably what made me behave was understanding that the Christianity isn't just believing. Because we talked about, I think about the Jewish mindset versus the Greek mindset. So for me, it was a Greek mindset. I believe in my head, I'm a Christian. Whereas the Jewish understanding is your belief is enacted out, right? So as I said to somebody the other day, have I always believed that eating well and exercising is good for me? Yes. Have I always followed that? Not so much.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, our purpose is trying to, here at Know My Faith, our purpose is trying to get everyone more familiar with, not just how to follow what they want to do, what should they do in order to follow. And we refer to the aspect of teaching, of learning the Bible.
Yep.
And why is it important? And, few other examples from my day-to-day lives right here.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the most interesting subjects that keeps coming up to my messenger and people keep asking me, Kiwis keep talking to me about it, is what's going on in the Middle East at the moment.
Oh, right. The peace treaty with the United Arab Emirates and all of that.
Have you ever been to Dubai or these kind of areas?
No, not at all.
So Dubai is a very luxurious country, to say the least. Like only 1 million civilians over there. 10 million other permanent workers, let's put it this way.
That's the one with the big tower.
Yeah. I think they have, at least they have their own big towers, but they have crazy hotels.
Yeah.
They build islands for themselves. They have way too much money, palaces and stuff that are unfathomable to to us. And lately, they've been, it's not just the peace treaty, actually. They've been regulating their relationship with Israel.
Yes.
It means they won't just, Israel has peace treaty with Jordan and with Egypt, but this is not just a regular peace treaty. It's about people
trade as well?
Trade and travel. Okay?
Yep.
If someone wants to travel from the Emirates to Israel to visit their Muslim usually Muslim, who lives in the Emirates is usually Muslim, I think. And if they want to come to Israel and visit mosques and stuff like that, they could do it.
Okay.
They could just come.
So we have the same in New Zealand. We have the what's called CER, Closer Economic Relations with Australia.
Yeah.
So you don't need a visa to get into Australia if you're a Kiwi. It's just back and forwards and do business back and forwards. So.
I reckon they would need some sort of visa or some kind of
but it's easier
approval,
now for them.
But it's a lot easier. Yeah. It's a lot nicer. And Israelis, I was in the Emirates, but I couldn't get in there. Just a connection at the airport, unless I had some kind of a foreign passport. I can't get into that area. So the purpose is just trying to cooperate.
So hopefully now you can. Or when the ink dries.
When the ink dries, I could go there and enjoy the luxurious hotels that I would never
get
afford.
yourself a wingsuit and dive off that,
Yeah.
You'd be into that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, sure.
The wingsuit?
The wingsuit?
Yeah, they stand there with the glider thing.
Actually, I want to say yes, but I have...
You want to say yes?
I want to say yes. I want to say yes, but I have really not traumatic, I'd say. I hate heights.
Yeah? Okay.
I hate heights. Just every time that I do, I did skydive when I was 20, and then I did it again 3 months ago in Queenstown. And that reminded me why I haven't done skydiving since I was 20. That was crazy.
So you wouldn't be into the helicopter bungee jump, which is, as opposed to off the bridge, you just go on a helicopter up to whatever 1,000 feet above the lake and.
No, I might as well. I'd probably try it. I don't know.
Anyway, so the
Okay.
deal, it's
Yeah.
not, the ink hasn't dried. There's still some more
There's
stuff.
still some more stuff to check it out, but the condition, what happens in Israel at the moment, they try to annex, I'd say, some territories in right next to the Jordanian River area, in Jordanian Valley area. It's just like the other way of the West Bank.
Yep.
And that area is not like controlled by, it's controlled by Israel and by the local Palestinian Authority.
Yeah.
But Israel is like, and Israel wants to get it to make it like a full sovereignty area that people that live there could vote.
So it was won back in one of the wars since independence, wasn't it? But then the Palestinian the Israeli government gave the Palestinian authority over that part of Israel,
in
basically.
67, yes. In 67, and then on Yom Kippur we had another war, but over there.
So for us, it's kind of like if I don't know if Australia, we give Australia are allowed to have control of the Waikato, but it's still ours.
Yes, definitely.
Right. And now Israel or the New Zealand government wants to take part of the Waikato back and say, we want this part again.
It's like Australia says, okay, Waikato is ours now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And actually, there are different explanations for it to do it, but most of the population over there is currently Jewish Israeli.
Okay.
Okay.
In that part.
In that part,
Yeah.
yes. So it's not that big of a deal, and America supports it.
Yeah. So we got to remind the people watching this that in Israel you have Jewish communities, you have Arab communities.
Yeah.
In the Palestinian Authority, you have the same thing. There are Arab communities and there are Jewish communities.
There are Jewish communities, but they're not a part of the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah.
They're not civilians of the Palestinian authorities. In Israel,
Although they're in the area.
Yes,
Yeah.
they just settled there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Israel, there are Arab civilians.
Yes. Who are full Israelis.
Yes, well, full Israelis able to vote, able to do everything.
So this is what's holding up the peace or the treaty.
So this annex thing,
Yep.
it's what holding everything up. And the Emirate says, okay, we're willing to go for this if you let go of the annex or just delay it for a while at least.
So I can't imagine that the people that are contacting you through Facebook and on the Know My Faith page to get details of the treaty. They must be asking other questions.
They're asking other questions, and they're presenting different, let's call it different sources and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. They think it indicates of the bringing of the third temple.
Ah.
Okay. And there are some I watched another let's call it a YouTube show. It wasn't much of a podcast. It's someone who talked about it.
Yep.
And I saw some verses about it that talk about how it's going to happen and how the third temple is going to build and how it's going to look like from Ezekiel point of view.
Okay.
Yeah. And
See, there's the thing when you talk about Ezekiel. So from the Jewish understanding, I mean, we all agree there was Solomon's temple, the first temple.
Yes.
Herod's temple, the second temple.
Yes.
And we all agree there will be a third temple.
Yes.
Okay. From a Christian viewpoint, there will also be a fourth temple.
Yes.
Which is the temple in the millennium after the tribulation when Jesus is ruling the world. But at the moment, everyone's talking about this third temple.
Yes.
And is what's happening with the United Arab Emirates a sign that the third temple is going to be built?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it doesn't really fit the actually yes, it kind of fits a little bit the scenario.
It does if you're familiar with Arnold Fruchtenbaum because we've talked about him before, and the book that I narrated, or one of the books I narrated for him, is Footsteps of the Messiah, which is a rabbinical term about the arrival of Messiah, for us the second coming, but and so what Fruchtenbaum talks about in the book, he talks about something called newspaper exegesis. So exegesis is where you get the Bible and you open it up and you find a passage and you extract what the passage is saying. Right? Newspaper exegesis is you get the local newspaper and you read that and you go, oh, this is what the Bible talks about here. So, what Fruchtenbaum says, he says, get your biblical exegesis right, and then you can look at the newspaper and see how it fits in. But so many people look at current events and they go, oh, the end times is coming up. The tribulation's about to start. The temple's going to be built.
So they look at it in just the opposite.
Yeah. So that's what he calls them, newspaper exegesis. So they look at what's currently happening and they try and tie that into what the Bible says.
Interesting.
But there will be a temple.
Was there ever an attempt to rebuild it in the past, to build the third temple?
Since 70 AD?
Yeah.
No. I know the Temple Institute in Jerusalem have been, preparing
Yeah.
for many, many years, for decades.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a serious attempt. Well, there couldn't be, because, I mean, who's going to build the temple? Right? The Jewish people.
Yeah. But
Okay.
there were still...
Where are they going to build the temple? Jerusalem.
Yes. But Jerusalem wasn't always...
No,
controlled by Jewish people.
until 1967
Yeah.
was
No.
when...
Like, some of Jerusalem was controlled by Israelis.
Yeah, but
before
not the Temple Mount.
Not the Temple Mount.
No. And Jerusalem wasn't fully under Jewish control until that point. So nobody else would think, well, apart from the Brazilians who built one in Sao Paulo, but nobody would think of building the temple anywhere else apart from the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Nobody but the Jewish people would build the temple. So who would even think about that before 1967?
I'd say I think people would consider it. I would say because of the proximity between Christianity and Judaism.
I think Christians might have thought about building it.
Yeah. I think there was even a Roman emperor that wanted to do it, and they wanted to give the approval to the Jews, and they started to gather the money. It was, I think, 362 AD.
Okay.
Yeah. So they tried to gather some of the money, and it finally didn't work out because he died.
Right. And somebody else took over.
Somebody else took over and says like, no.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing that happened was during the 6-Day War.
Yep.
Okay, when they conquered the Temple Mount.
Take us through the wars, because for most of us, we know the War of Independence, 1948.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one was 67?
No, the next one, we had another one called, like exhaustion war, we call it, Hakasha. Like it's wear out war between Israel and Egypt, where they just tried to wear out each other. It was like a semi-war, semi-cold war.
It's like a punch, it's like Rocky punch me.
Yeah.
We'll wear you
just
down.
like that. So there's that one.
When was that? What?
56.
56? Okay.
Yeah. And then there was like certain like small conflicts.
Yep.
Then in 67 you had the 6-Day War.
So the 6-Day War is 1967.
67.
Okay,
yes.
6 and 6. We'll put that together. Don't put another 6 on there, or we are in trouble. So 6-Day War, 1967, and then there was the Yom Kippur War, which was
in 74.
74.
I think 74, 73.
Yep.
Yes. So you had you had the Yom Kippur War. Then on the 80s we started the Lebanon War, which was unrelated, and then we have several others today, like small ones with Gaza, and like there's always the border with Syria and Lebanon is heating up. But on the 6-Day War, when they conquered the Temple Mount, they actually thought of building it. Okay.
In those days,
They thought of building it
because Jerusalem was the famous line, Jerusalem is finally back in Jewish hands.
Yeah. They said also there's a famous sentence in Hebrew. It says Har Habayit be'adenu, which means the Temple Mountain is in our hands.
Is in our hands.
Yeah. So they thought like there was some kind of thinking about building the third temple.
Yeah.
But I think there was some sort of fear from international community stuff.
You look at the amazing. I mean, I don't know who was in charge. Who was your prime minister in 67?
Oh man, I forgot. I should know this.
It'll come to you. But the Jewish forces take Jerusalem and the Temple Mount
Yeah.
with the Dome of the Rock, the mosque on the Temple Mount. They could very easily have destroyed everything on there
Yeah.
and built the temple, but they didn't. They said, "This
Already
is your
are.
holy place. Let us. You can continue to use it."
Okay.
So I mean, I'm going, wow. Why would you do that? Because you're at war.
Yeah.
But the prime minister or the authorities said to the Muslims, to the Arabs, this is your holy place. We'll let you keep it. Yes, it's our holy place, but you've got your mosque there.
Yeah, I really wonder why would they do that.
Yeah,
I think Levi Eshkol decided it. It was I really
Eshkol, he was the
Levi Eshkol. Yes, that's her name. Levi Eshkol and the prime minister, and the general of that war, the one that controlled the IDF, was Rabin.
Rabin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which actually was the first one who initiated the contact between the Emirates.
Okay.
Which is quite.
All right.
Yeah.
And ironically, Rabin was assassinated for giving away
territories, land
Yeah.
for the Palestinians. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So people are talking about this now. They're talking about the peace treaty or the treaty, and they're going, okay, is this leading us into the end times? We're going to have somebody going to build a temple.
Yeah. What do you think?
From the Christian eschatological point of view. So we know there's the 7 years of tribulation, and a lot of people say you can't start the tribulation until you've got a temple. Right, so we need the temple first, and when they build the temple, that'll be a sign that the tribulation is getting closer. So the tribulation starts with, according to Daniel 9, I think Daniel 9:27, when the one world leader, who we call the Antichrist, signs a peace treaty with Israel. So that's the world basically signs it. I mean, you think about it, you signed one country signed a peace treaty with another country, right? That's Israel and Egypt, and then Israel signs another peace treaty with another country of Jordan, and then Israel signs a treaty with a third country, United Arab Emirates. But at some point in the future, Israel's going to sign a treaty with the whole world. They're going to go, please be nice to us. So anyway, so that's the start of the tribulation, biblically, is when the Antichrist signs the deal. And then it says in Daniel 9 that halfway through that 7-year treaty, that he will make the oblations cease, right? So, which means there must be a temple for there to be sacrifices, oblations, and halfway through the tribulation, the Antichrist causes the sacrifices to cease. So we need a temple halfway through the tribulation. But how long does it take to build a temple nowadays? I mean, Solomon's temple took.
Yeah.
I always find that ironic. It took, I think it was it 7 years?
4. I think the Solomon Temple in Brazil.
No. Solomon's one. I think it was like 7 years to build Solomon's temple, and he took 14 years building his palace, twice as long. When Zerubbabel brought the exiles back, I think it was about 7 months that they rebuilt it. Okay. I mean, what does God say in Nehemiah? It says, "Those of you old enough to remember the old one, have a look at the new one." That's why you're weeping. And it says they couldn't. It says that there was some of them were shouting with joy because they'd actually rebuilt the temple. But the older ones who had seen the original temple were wailing with grief. And the Bible says you couldn't tell the difference between the noise was so loud from both sides you couldn't tell the difference. But anyway, so 7 months I think it was rebuilding it. Herod spent 46 years building the whole temple compound and all of that to make it, because he was a builder. But how long does it take to build a temple in the 21st century?
Well, we have a lot of technology now.
We do.
We can use cranes and stuff.
Yeah. So the replica in Brazil took 4 years to build, and that's maybe 10, 15 years ago now.
Yeah, it's huge. Though.
Yeah, it is. But from memory, that was one church building it. Right.
Yeah,
it was a big church. So imagine you get all of Israel building the temple. So you don't need it before the start of the tribulation. You only actually need a temple in the middle of the tribulation.
Or
Does
at
that
the
make
beginning.
sense? Or at the beginning, yeah.
And so when they could start establish it actually whenever, as long as it will be some sort in the tribulation itself.
Yeah. So it's to say that the building of a temple, we don't have to wait for the building of a temple for the tribulation to start. The tribulation starts with the signing of the 7-year peace treaty. But there's stuff that needs to happen before then, and this is why I love, as I say, Fruchtenbaum's book, Footsteps of the Messiah, which it's a big book. Have you read it?
No, I have not.
I read it. I had to read it because I narrated it. It's 28 and a half hours of audio, so it's a long book. But what he does is he systematically goes through every reference in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament, and in the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, about the end times. And he puts it in sequential order. And so many, we've known from the 70s about things like Gog and Magog, the Russian invasion, as it's called, the northern invasion of Israel. But we haven't really put it into a time sequence. And what Fruchtenbaum does in the book, he goes, well, this has to happen because this happens after that happens. And you go, you realize that northern invasion of Israel has to happen before the tribulation starts. When you look at all the different verses leading up to it. So you go, okay, is the treaty with the United Arab Emirates, is that the treaty of the, is Donald Trump the Antichrist? Well, hang on. Is it a 7-year treaty? No. Right? Is it a treaty with the whole world? No. Yeah. So no, it's not the treaty that starts the tribulation.
What did start? What do you think did already started the tribulation?
The tribulation hasn't started. The Bible says in Daniel 9 in the Tanakh that it will start with the signing of a 7-year peace treaty. With the whole world signing a peace treaty with Israel. But the Old Testament also says that the northern invasion, the whole Gog and Magog and the other nations that join in with them, Cush and Tarshish and all of that, must happen before the signing of that treaty.
Okay.
So if you're going, okay, we've signed the treaty with United Arab Emirates, are we about to see the temple being built? No. We need the northern invasion of Israel. By the way, they lose. I mean, obviously, anyone that invades Israel loses.
Well, that's not. Well, like the modern Israel, yes, that's true. The old Israel, no.
When they were when Israel was in disobedience.
Yeah.
Israel. Yeah. So God says, I'm going to punish you, and I'm going to let people.
That's interesting. The disobedience motive is also comes back again and again.
All the time. All the time. It's the cycle. I mean, through the book of Judges, it's that cycle, which I think we talked about last time. You obey, become complacent, disobey. Somebody overrules you, complain to God and apologize. So He brings a judge, and then obey, and it just goes round and round in circles.
Well, I prepared several verses that might be relevant to the third temple, and might be not. I just think that I researched myself. Brought some references. One of them was
got them on the screen
destruction.
Here.
I got over here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking over there all the time.
Yep. I've got a balance over there. Hang on.
You
falling over your boots. That's his problem. He's standing here in socks.
Don't tell them. They shouldn't sit in the socks.
Have you got another one of those pegs I just put here?
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. Once more fields will be brought in this land of which you say it is a desolated waste without people or animals, has been given into hands of Babylonians. Fields will be bought for silver, and deeds will be signed, sealed witnesses in the territory of Benjamin, the villages of Jerusalem, the towns of Judah, the towns of hill country, of the western forehill and the Negev, because I will restore their fortunes, declare the Lord. So that's from Jeremiah.
And so you're thinking that pertains to the temple, or does that just pertain to the land?
It pertains to the land and
Yeah.
what's going to happen with the land. That's kind of, yeah.
So if you look at, deconstruct that verse, and
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people don't do. So at the beginning of the verse, it says, "It is a desolate waste without people and animals."
Yeah.
Is that Israel at the moment?
Not at the moment, no.
No. So for this to pertain to, call it the third temple period, the land of Israel must become desolate without people or animals. Can you see that happening?
Well, it has to, I think it happened at some point.
Oh, it lay desolate for
it
for
lay
years.
desolate for years,
Until the Jewish people started coming back in the late 19th century, early 20th century, and draining the swamps and planting trees. Because remember, the Ottoman Empire, a lot of people don't know this, the Ottoman Empire was huge. That's what was cut up after World War I, right? Or was it World War II?
The Ottoman Empire, World War I.
Yeah.
World War I.
The
Ottoman Empire was
one. But after World War II is when they created the state of Jordan and all of these.
No, that's also after World War I.
No. Rewind all of that. The Ottoman Empire put a tax on trees.
Yeah.
Right. So if you got, you go, hey, this is a nice house, and I've got got a dozen trees over there, and the local authority comes over and says, okay, Dror, trees are $200 each, and Dror goes and gets out the steel chainsaw and goes, what trees? So the whole land was basically desolate. It was treeless. Until the Jewish people started coming back, and started planting trees.
Yeah, if you ever visit Israel, you did. But
I planted a tree.
You planted,
as a family, we planted trees in the Liebi forest.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, so so just there are a lot of places where you could do that. You could plant a lot of pine trees, and just to desicate the swamp.
So when we're looking at this verse and saying it's desolate without, so that's obviously not now. So for that to pertain to a temple in the future, Israel, the land of Israel, Eretz Israel, would have to become desolate again. The 8 million? Is it 8 million inhabitants?
9 now.
9 million.
Yeah.
And you guys grow.
Yeah.
9 million inhabitants have all got to go, and all the animals, for that verse to be in the future. So when you look at that, you go, okay, that verse must be sometime in the past. And particularly the reference to the Babylonians, to me, pertains to the time when God took his Sabbaths, because that's the whole reason. Now, if you don't know this, we'll give you a little Bible lesson on that. The reason for the Babylonian captivity is one of God's laws in the Mosaic laws, and we'll talk about Moses shortly, maybe?
Maybe.
He said every 7 years you let the land lie fallow, right? You don't till it, you just leave it alone and let it lie. Yeah. So for the 490 years that the Israelites were in the land, they didn't do that once. Right? And so God goes, no, I'm pretty sure that's in my list. So I'm going to actually take the whole lot. You were 49 divided by you owe me 70 years. So everybody go away. And I'm going to use the Babylonians to take you away, and the land is going to lie desolate, without people, without animals. There was just that tiny remnant there, which is always there, which God always leaves. So the whole 70 years of the Babylonian captivity was God taking his Sabbaths. So that, in reference to that, you remember Jeremiah is told to buy a deed of land from his cousin.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was the worst time to buy land.
He's still in prison at the time. And he turns to God, he goes, come on, you've just been telling me that the Babylonians are going to come in here and wipe us all out. Why am I buying a deed of land? And God says pretty much the same as this verse in Jeremiah. In a future time, people will come back and they will build and the land will be filled again. So to me, that verse pertains to the earlier period.
Yeah, to the earlier period. Okay, that'll be good.
Yeah.
What else have I written here? I brought some. What I brought from Schai. I brought something very interesting. Yeah, that's what I really like. I'm gonna put this in English too.
Okay. English is good because my Hebrew is very limited.
Oh, it's all right. One of the things that I really found interesting was the sketch of the third temple. The way somebody actually did a nice sketch.
Oh, a picture of it? Yeah. Picture of it.
Yeah.
So this is Ezekiel's temple.
This is Ezekiel temple.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, it's very important to mention, like in Judaism belief, or at least in Chabad belief, I got it from, actually, they have their own Wikipedia, Chabad.
Yep.
They call it Chabadpedia.
Chabadpedia.
Yeah. Well, they say they describe the third temple as it's in Hebrew.
It's in
don't-
Hebrew.
don't
I
try
won't
it.
look, no, I'll
Don't
look
try
somewhere
it.
else.
Don't try it. It's all right.
I recognize that letter. Yes.
Yeah. So, they say like something really interesting. First of all, Judaism doesn't believe in a fourth temple.
No.
It's very important to mention that.
Yeah.
There is only a third, and it's going to come one of two ways. Okay, it's going to come from the sky or built by us.
So come from the skies, like so come down from the sky.
Come down
Okay, the whole temple.
with
Yep.
our new Messiah.
Yeah, you got a
with
guy
our
going
own.
bit to the left, bit to the left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So actually, some people say that even just after the temple will be built,
Yeah.
then the Messiah would come.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. Like
This is in Chabadic Judaism.
Chabad, Gemara, they based it on Gemara and on Talmud and on some sources
Okay.
according to the Old Testament, which is quite interesting. Just putting it up.
Yeah. In Hebrew, so I can't read it.
Yeah. I'm just telling you guys how it works. It's not. Yeah. So one thing, which is very interesting, that they say, according to the old wise people of the nation, they said, if the people of Israel would be worthy to redemption,
Right.
so the temple is going to come from the sky. If they wouldn't be, they're going to build it on their
Build
own
it themselves.
and might bring a disaster.
Yeah.
Okay, which is interesting because what's going on, the reality right now on Temple Mountain is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
To the Temple Mount?
Yeah.
I accidentally walked onto the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
Now, the reason for that is when we were in Jerusalem and we wanted to go to the Western Wall, for some reason they blocked off the men's section. Right, so I couldn't go there. But the women's section was still open. So Sharon went there.
Yeah.
And I thought, I saw this ramp. He's laughing. He knows
Yeah,
what's coming
I
up.
know
He
what's
knows
going up.
what's coming up.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll get a photo of Sharon from up
the
on the
top.
ramp. So I'm walking up the ramp and I go, I wonder what's at the end of the ramp. It didn't even occur to me that that was the Temple Mount. I was moving into East Jerusalem as such.
Yeah.
And so here's me wandering around the Temple Mount in Kiwi shorts and jandals. And I have to say, I was very quickly and very politely told that wasn't acceptable. I was given a kurta skirt to cover myself, but also I very quickly made it across to the other side to be able to walk back down again.
So
There was it's a long story because that's the day that Donald Trump was arriving and they were actually shutting the whole of the old city down. So it's a long story. I won't bore you on this one, but it's,
it's
so
all right.
I've been up there.
Yeah. So why can't people why can't you the Temple Mountain, that area is big.
Yep.
It's not like, so why can't the Jewish people build their temple just next to the
Next to the
rock?
Dome of the Rock.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when they were looking at after World War II, after the Holocaust, and the United Nations decided and the world decided that the Jewish people needed a homeland. And they go, well, look, let's partition off, I think it was parts of Nigeria. Was it Nigeria?
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
Ethiopia.
partition off parts of Ethiopia and that can be your new homeland. To which the Jewish people go, no, Israel's our homeland. So if you can't have a homeland anywhere but Israel, I don't think you could have a temple anywhere but where the original temple was built, which in my understanding is the Dome of the Rock. Yeah, because like pre-67, even the guides, the tour guides that took people around Jerusalem, and I didn't know they had them in those days, were saying, "Hey, this is where your Holy of Holies was," and so it's in the same place. I don't, can we build the temple beside? I don't know.
No. Who knows? No, probably not.
Probably not. Can we move the Dome of the Rock beside? No, because the rock is holy to Muslims as the place where Muhammad supposedly ascended to heaven from that rock.
Yeah. So yeah.
So we're talking
about the third temple,
Yeah,
the way it's
yeah.
going to look like. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's going to be different with the third temple, like in Jewish tradition, you used to go to the temple to put sacrifices 3 times a year.
Yep.
That's
That was
Shavuot, Passover, and Sukkot. Okay.
Yep.
So it's going to be like, according to Ezekiel's prophecy, they say they're going to go to it every Sabbath, every
Shabbat.
every Shabbat, and every head of the month. Okay. And
Yom Teruah, is that right?
Rosh Chodesh.
Rosh Chodesh.
Yeah.
What's
Rosh
Yom
Chodesh.
Teruah?
Oh, that's
the
just
feast,
Bible
the-
day.
the-
Torah
yeah,
day.
Torah,
Yeah.
Yom Torah, yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that's interesting, it's going to be built not out of gold, like Solomon's staple.
Okay.
It's going to be built from a little bit from iron, because it's not going to be, because iron is going to be a little different, because there's not going to be a war. Because
Okay.
you're going to be treated like
Yeah,
it's going to be
it's
agreement
gonna
with
be a peace with
everybody. It's going to
everybody.
be peace.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna look as more of a permanent thing.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's always peace and it's all right. And iron doesn't signify war. Like at those times, iron signified war because, well,
Yep. So this is the Habitic, is that right?
Habitic.
Understanding of the third.
yeah.
See, you could have the third temple could be, if I use the words, could be the fourth temple. There's to me, there's nothing that says that this temple in Jerusalem during the tribulation needs to be destroyed. There's nothing that I read in the Bible that says that.
What would be the transition between the third temple and the fourth temple? Because they say it.
Okay, so according to Daniel 9:27, halfway through the 7-year peace treaty, the oblations are caused to cease. The sacrifices cease at the temple. So this is the third temple. Sometime after the end of the tribulation, we have the millennium when Messiah reigns for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And there is a temple. To me, this is the Ezekiel temple, is that temple.
It's the fourth.
Well, no, it could
The
still
third,
be. I mean,
fourth?
why are you destroying the third temple? Why are you destroying this temple that's in the tribulation? So if you're the Antichrist,
Yeah.
right? You break the treaty with Israel. War now occurs between the world and the Jewish people, which is what the second half of the tribulation is. Why are you going to get a great big sledgehammer and smash the temple?
Well, there's no real reason.
There's no real reason, is there? So that temple could stay. It could be the same temple.
Yeah.
The temple in the tribulation could be the millennial temple to me.
Okay.
Right? There are just some that say no, that temple will be destroyed, and then. So interesting. You talk about the temple coming down from God, because at the end of the tribulation, now you don't get this in the Tanakh. This is only in the Brit Hadashah.
Yeah, of course.
At the end of the tribulation, we've got 1,000 years of peace on their world, and then God creates a new heaven and a new earth, and the new Jerusalem comes down out of heaven. That God brings it out of heaven to basically. I'm assuming to where Israel is at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm only assuming that.
Yeah.
But that's similar to the Habbadic understanding of God
Yeah.
bringing the temple down.
Yeah. Like when it's deserving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they might like. I'm not.
Well, yeah,
I'm a Hasidic guy.
if it's after the millennium,
Yeah.
the only people alive then are the redeemed, the saved.
Yeah.
Right. So they're all deserving because of what Messiah did.
Huh.
So.
An interesting thing. We had a Bible lesson last week on Tuesday, I think, and the lesson was really focused on the Revelation,
Okay.
the book Revelation, and there were some verses that I really found interesting, like this one.
Oh, it's in English. I
Of
can
course,
read it.
it's
Yeah.
Revelation. It's not.
I thought you might have switched over to
Let's
Greek
go
or
with it.
something for me.
No, I don't know Greek.
So from verse 12.
from chapter 6, verse 12 to 17.
Yeah, so I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red.
Yeah.
And the stars in the sky fell to earth as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. That's some pretty heavy stuff going on. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. They called to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it?
Yeah. That's a strong one. It's a strong war. It's a description of war.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
A war between basically everybody,
Yeah.
the nations and God.
Yeah.
What I find interesting with Revelation, with passages like this, is these people are they're screaming at God, right?
Yeah.
And what God are they screaming at? Your God.
Yeah.
They're screaming at the God of Israel.
Yeah.
Right. And this is one of the things I think that convinced me of the need to more than just believe, but to obey. Right? Do these people believe that the God of Israel is the one causing all of this? Yes, because they're yelling and screaming at him and saying to the rocks, hide us from God. Are they following and obeying him? No, not so much.
no.
You know. So I'm reading again. The difference between believing in God and obeying God is an enormous one. But and you wonder why don't they turn? Why don't they repent?
Well, maybe they will. I don't know.
No, they don't. But I mean, because you can't change Scripture.
Yeah.
You know. So this is. I've just finished reading Amos.
Yeah.
And in Amos, God says, "You've been in disobedience to me, right? So I sent pestilence to you, and you still didn't turn to me.
Yeah.
So I sent famine, and you still didn't turn to me. So I sent floods, and you did. So I made it rain on one city and not rain on another city, and you still. What do I have to do to get your attention? Because the whole Bible narrative is God saying, I want this relationship with you that he describes as a husband and wife relationship. But because God is holy, you have to be in obedience to him, right? None of us can be in obedience. That's what we call sin. None of us can get rid of sin. I mean, have you ever lied in your life?
Yes.
Okay. Can you untell a lie?
No.
No. You can tell the person the truth.
You can be truthful and sorry and
Yeah,
apologize.
but you can't untell the lie.
Yeah.
So we all sin. We can't get rid of the sin. None of us can. So from the Christian viewpoint, Yeshua died, wiped the slate clean, so that we can have this relationship with God. And Amos says, God will do. What do I have to do to wake you up to see this? But these people in Revelation, they're flipping the finger at God instead of turning to him.
Yeah.
And that's the whole. When people are focusing on the end times, focusing on the third temple, the tribulation, all these things, God's focus isn't the temple. God's focus isn't the tribulation. God's focus is his relationship with Dror, his relationship with Rob. Right, that's his focus. Right from the before Genesis to after Revelation, that's his focus.
His relationship with people.
Yeah. We're individuals, not people as a group. Individuals.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Also, a concept of individual responsibility. Maybe.
Yeah. Except for Israel as such, it's almost like national responsibility in there as well, because Israel is God's chosen nation, chosen people.
So, well, it brings another concept in mind here. I talked about responsibility. How do you approach that kind of responsibility to a specific nation? Because there are so many people, and one Israelite person cannot be responsible for the other one's deeds.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So how do you distinguish them? Are there cases of that? And yes, there are cases of that.
There are. Yeah. You've got to go back to the founding of the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the Exodus, is the founding of the nation. So beforehand, you've got Avraham, who's a single man.
Yeah.
No kids. for a long, getting kids at 100 years old. One man has 2 sons, right? So from one man and his wife, we go from 2, we're going to 4, and then we have another family, and then we get Jacob with the 12 sons of Jacob, and it's what we'd call whānau. In Māori is whānau. It's just family.
Yeah.
Cousins, right? There's Uncle Levi and there's Uncle Simeon and there's Uncle Judah. So we're all family, and it was a whānau that went down into Egypt. Right, Joseph was there. They all came. We've read the story in Genesis. Yeah. So it was a whānau that went into Egypt, but it was a nation that came out of Egypt under the leadership of Moses. And what God said to that nation was, okay, if you obey me, right, what I've called you to be is to be a king, a nation of priests. Right, I want to show the world what it's like for people to worship me. Right, you obey me, I bless you. Everybody goes, wow, I want a piece of that. So that was the nation or the family, the whānau of Israel corporately as a nation. So that's why they were judged corporately
together.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Here's another one from Revelation that I liked. The 7th angel poured out his bowl.
His bowl, not bowels.
Sorry,
bowl,
sorry about that. The 7th angel poured out his bowl into the air, and out of the temple came a loud voice from the throne saying, "It is done." Then there came flashes of lightning, rumbling, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. Not earthquake like it ever occurred since mankind has been on earth. So tremendous was the quake. The great city split into 3 parts, and the cities of the nation collapsed. God remembered Babylon the Great and gave her the cup filled with the wine of the fury and his wrath.
Yeah.
Every island fled away, and the mountains could not be found. From the sky, huge hailstone, each weighing about 100 pounds, fell on people, and they cursed God on the account of the plague of hail because the plague was so terrible. Well, that's based on what you said right now. It's just another example of balagan. Okay, balagan means mess, war, and everything.
Yep.
And people don't go to repent. People curse.
Yeah.
Okay. Another interesting concept that I found in Revelation is the fact that there are people outside the city of God. Like they are being destroyed at some point.
Yeah.
But there is a city.
The city of God, in this instance, being Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Jerusalem, maybe it's another one.
Okay.
But there's like a concept of a city of God, and there are people outside, even when the redemption comes, which is it's also an interesting concept that there is always, not always, I don't know if there will be always, but there is this division.
There seems to be, even in the eternal order, which is after the end of the millennium, it appears that some live in the city and some live outside the city.
Yeah.
So, and that city's huge. Have you ever done the dimensions on that? The city, it's like a cube that comes down out of heaven. It's like 1,700 kilometers in each direction. You ever seen Star Trek?
Yes.
You know the Borg?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Borg cube, right? That's from memory. That's about the size of the New Jerusalem that comes down. It's
huge.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
It'll go from almost Iraq to Lebanon. To
17 square kilometers.
1,700.
Oh,
1,700
that's
cubic kilometers.
That's more than Australia, man. That's like. No.
Not quite that, but it's big.
It's big.
Draw it out on a map.
Yeah.
It's huge. But
it's like,
but even there's the concept that some people will live in there and some people will live outside and come in and do trade or whatever. But it's just so much that we don't know. And from if you play off the Christian. And I use these terms advisedly. The Christian versus the Jewish or rabbinic understanding is the rabbinic understanding, which only has the Tanakh and the Talmuds, and doesn't have the extra information that the New Testament has.
Okay.
But even with that, we still screw it up. We still get the so certain Bill Clinton was the Antichrist. Oh no, got that wrong.
Well, you could be like one of them is going to be right.
Henry Kissinger, he's still alive, isn't he?
Henry Kissinger?
I think he's still.
Is he?
Check it up on
we
Wiki
got
or something. We got
Henry
computers. We can do it.
Kissinger's.
But Henry Kissinger in the 70s, he was the Antichrist. You could work it out with his name and do it. Put his name into Hebrew letters and add them all up. It equals
He's still
666. How old is he?
It's 97.
97. Wow.
He's still alive, Henry Kissinger.
So he still could be the Antichrist, but and he was a peace guy, wasn't he? He was always doing peace, But and again, go back to what Dr. Fruchtenbaum says about newspaper exegesis.
Yeah.
Right? We look at what's happening and we go, oh, this fits with this verse. You go, no, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah. Like they look for a
Parallels.
not just parallel, just some kind of validification from the outside to the inside instead of doing it otherwise. Yeah. Like they're searching from the inside what you feel and what you have and what you understand towards the outside, and then that could fit, but not really.
Again, from the Christian point of view, it's a so what.
Yeah.
Right? So what?
So what?
So what are you, if you're a Christian and you're watching this podcast, what are you going to do? I love, I think there's a story about Martin Luther. Yeah. Somebody said, what would you do if you knew that Jesus was coming back tomorrow? And he said, I'd plant a tree.
Why would he do that?
Because the tree's going to last through into the millennium. Right?
That's my...
Why? So I'm going to assume you're a Christian at the moment, a messianic believer. Okay. Yeah. So if I told you that Yeshua is coming back next Monday, what's your job today?
Well, preparing a nice place for him to be.
A temple, no. Yeah. Your job today is the job that we were left, the Great Commission. Go into all the world and tell people about me. Yeah. Right? So if I told you that we are, what's our time at the moment? We're filming this, we're just on lunchtime, 12 o'clock. If I told you that Yeshua was returning at 6 o'clock tonight, what's your job this afternoon?
To leave lunch, go outside and talk to people.
So what difference does it make? All this end times focus on temples, on peace treaties, on the tribulation, on whatever. For the Christian, it's still go and do what I told you to do.
It's actually it's an interesting concept because, maybe they don't do it from. I'm hinting, not criticizing. Very important. I don't. Yeah.
That's my job.
Not do it. I'm just saying this. Maybe they're looking for an end to the spread of the word. You know what I mean? They do it all the time. And they look for the purpose. They look for the end goal. They look for this is gonna come. They look for the final destination. They don't look at the journey.
Yep. It could be the many reasons. Yeah,
what's
could be
like because what's fulfilling about this? Like, what do we want? Do we want like in our own lives? We want a better journey or the success? Are we looking at the product or how we got there? And people don't focus on the way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And maybe that's another example for it. They want to see the end thing. Yeah. They want to say, okay, in my lifetime, or at least in my son's lifetime, I'm going to have...
it's getting the world's getting worse and worse and worse. Surely the rapture must be happening soon. The end must come soon. You know? Yeah. I'm looking for the end. I love what my wife says. Sharon goes, if the rapture is before the tribulation, I'll be looking for my family members. Right? Yeah. As we're going up. Yeah. Right? If the rapture is after the tribulation, I'll be looking for my family members during the tribulation. You know, because that's the focus, is to share the Yeshua that we have within us with people who don't have him. That's the whole purpose. Yeah.
You can get more of our videos at Know My Faith at our channel. Subscribe. I'm gonna put a nice button over here, or here.
Put a smiley face or something, a thumbs up.
Yeah. You just can subscribe to our channel, check out our other videos, check out our updates on our Facebook page. It's Know My Faith. We have different stuff, motivational quotes. If you want to buy some of the materials we're talking about, just get them on our website. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Next time.
Next time. See you later.